Welcome back to Mudwalkers, everyone. My name is Chris. Well, you may have seen a recent video of mine responding to a man named Brian Holdsworth on YouTube about the question of modesty. Well, he recently made another video on modesty, so let's take a look. In this recent video, Brian makes a logical case for what he calls modesty, i.e. body coverage as a moral virtue. I usually deal with biblical arguments for modesty, so this is a neat twist for the channel. I usually deal with the Bible, so dealing with a logical case was a neat mental exercise, but I think, I hope you'll see it the way that I heard it when I first saw Brian's video. Of course, I'm not going to play Brian's video in its entirety because that would be an extremely long response video. I'm playing a small portion of Brian's full video. Please check the link in the description down below to Brian's full video. He does a great job shooting and editing and scripting his videos, so I think he uses a script, maybe not, but that'd be even more impressive. So go give his video a watch. It's really, really well made. You'll also be able to understand my points better if you understand what he's saying in context, which means not only will you understand my counter argument better, but you'll also be able to tell me if I've misrepresented Brian or omitted key data that would have made his case look better. I want to make his case look as good as I can by letting him represent himself, but I can't play the entire video. So I've tried to kind of like walk a balance there. So let me know how good of a job or bad of a job I did in the comments down below. I want to try to improve as I go. So if you guys have any constructive criticism, by all means, let me know.
But if we treat all ethical questions as merely subjective, as in my opinion and my feelings against yours, then there's no way to find any resolution because neither are more valid than the other. But yet some of these questions we do have to resolve. And if there's nothing neutral to appeal to between contesting parties, then the only way to resolve that kind of conflict is through the assertion of power, which means that someone's going to be oppressed at the expense of the more powerful. And that's a terrible way to live as a society.
Yeah, Brian, that is a terrible way to live as a society. And you've described the experience of American nudists really well. We nudists don't share a common neutral standard with mainstream society. So the question of whether or not people are free to opt out of clothes in public spaces has largely been decided through the assertion of power. This leads, as you said, to oppression. In other words, the assertion of oppressive power over the less powerful by the more powerful. And I think that you've hit the nail on the head with that one. Because it seems to me that if humans have any rights, the right to be human is one of the most fundamental ones that there is. And what is it that you're really seeing when you see a person who's not wearing clothes? What you're really just seeing is a human being. If you were to see a chimpanzee, for example, that didn't have any clothes on, and I can just about guarantee you have, no one thinks, oh my gosh, that is an unclad chimp. Or no one says, oh my goodness, that chimp really should be covered up. No one thinks any of that. Well, a few people do, but most people don't. What most people do or think when they see a chimpanzee is, oh, look, a chimp. Similarly, we naturists, we nudists, when we see human beings, with or without clothes, we still just see a human being. And technically, that's what you're seeing as well, regardless of the term that you want to place on the person. All you're seeing is the person. So it seems like the right to choose whether or not to wear clothes is a deeply seated human right that should be respected in every corner of the world. Because, again, it seems like the right to be human should be one of the most fundamental human rights. And being human also means the right to appear human. Like, let me put it to you this way. What if there was a law that said People were allowed to be human, but only if they dressed up as horses and no one could see any portion of the human body or even tell that the person was human. Bye, tree limb. You can see the problem with that. That you have the right to be human, but not the right to appear human. You have to look like a horse. You have to look like a turtle. You have to dress up as a T-Rex, but no one can actually tell that you're human. The right to appear human is also fundamental. Soapbox over, let's move on.
The other day I was at a department store, just checking out with my goods, and there were 3 women standing individually in front of me. They weren't part of a group, they were just successively in line in front of me. And every single one of them was wearing leggings, the kind that left basically nothing to the imagination.
Why do Christian textiles say that so much? Left nothing to the imagination. Fantasy, imagination, imagination, fantasy, fantasy, nothing to the imagination. Why do you guys keep saying this? It sounds weird. Like, do you guys really want to fantasize and imagine women's bodies this much? Probably not, but I mean, if that's not what you're talking about, then why do you keep saying it? It's weird. It sounds creepy. Like, why do people keep saying that taking people's clothes off leaves nothing to the imagination? It sounds like you want to leave something to the imagination so that you can use your imagination. Correct me if I'm wrong there. It's what it sounds like. And chances are it just flies out of people's mouths as some kind of idiom or rhetorical device or a figure of speech. But it sounds bad, especially in the context of talking about modesty and lust and sexual propriety. Leave something to my imagination sounds bad.
And not long sweaters to compensate or anything like that. It was just buttocks in all their splendor for the consumption of anyone and everyone. And that isn't an isolated anecdote in my experience. Just this morning I went on my morning run and crossed paths with several people out and about on the trails. And because I knew I was going to be talking about this, I decided to make a mental note of what various people were wearing. Every male that I passed was wearing something loose and comfortable, similar to what I was wearing. Every female was wearing very revealing leggings. Now you might say, well, they were exercising. You can't blame them, and that's true, they were. But so was I. And based on the looks of most of them, I was working a little bit harder than they were. But I wasn't wearing leggings and a cropped shirt. I was wearing loose shorts that go down somewhere around my knees and a comfortable t-shirt.
Brian, I don't know if you've asked women why they wear those garments to work out, but I have. And I'll tell you what women have told me, which is that those garments are extremely comfortable. They're comfortable, they're cool, they're not loose fitting. So as you can imagine, the corner of your garment can get snagged on things sometimes. That's not going to happen with tight-fitting clothing. It's not. So when you're talking about these leggings or these booty shorts, they're not going to snag on things. First of all, they're extremely comfortable. They're very cool and breathable. They keep the wearer cool and comfortable. So I'd encourage you to please take some time and ask these women what their process is. How do you decide what to wear to work out? Why did you choose this instead of wearing jeans to work out? Why did you decide to wear shorts instead? Please explain that to me. And I bet a lot of them will tell you, I wear this because it's comfy. That's probably going to be one of the primary reasons. Now, it looked cute is also going to be important to a lot of fit women, okay? That's going to be important to a lot of women, is it looked cute. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of the athletic women you're talking about with this activewear are going to tell you they wear it because it's comfortable. I've even asked women before, what's the deal with yoga pants? Why are you guys wearing those? And they'll tell me, it feels like I'm not wearing pants. It's very cool, it's breathable, they don't get in my way. My legs can move freely in them. There's nothing like weighing me down. They wear them because they're comfy. Do they wear them for other reasons? Sure. There are other reasons women wear those, and those are inappropriate reasons. Their motivations are a part of the equation, and that needs to be talked about. However, that doesn't negate the fact that these garments are extremely practical. This episode of Mudwalkers is brought to you by Patreon. These guys are my patrons. They're making the channel happen. They're keeping my world spinning round. This way, of course, not this way. That would be a bit chaotic. You can support my work financially over there on Patreon, and depending on your level of support, the higher your level of support, the more benefits you get access to. It just kind of grows and grows as you go. One of those benefits is the monthly Zoom call with me and the other eligible patrons. It's a great time to hang out and share stories and swap ideas and stuff. It's a great time. One of the others is early access to videos like this one. My mainline content goes up on Patreon ahead of time, pretty much every time. So if you want early access to my content, I'll often post in bundles as well. Sometimes I'll even post an entire month of videos all at once, and Patreon members can just slurp those right up and then wait for the next videos to come out later on. Meanwhile, other people have to wait every week for the videos. You also get access to Patreon exclusive content, things like World Naked Bike Ride videos, naturist resort tours, behind the scenes movie content, because I'm gonna be in several nudist movies this year. All kinds of fun stuff like that over on Patreon. Let's get back into the video.
So here's the crux of the matter for me. Here's how we know that they also know that this is an excessively revealing way to dress. Because if we go back to that department store line of anecdote that I shared, if I decided to stare at the said buttocks in a way that was obvious to them, I'm willing to bet the women standing in front of me would protest.
Yeah, Jeff, humans don't like being stared at. That's pretty typical human psychology stuff. Especially considering these women aren't dressed up as circus clowns or samurai. They're just wearing typical cultural garb of their day and time, of their place and time. It's not that unusual to see them wearing these things. And also, Brian, it doesn't really make a difference what part of a woman's body you're staring at. It doesn't make a huge difference. Women don't like being stared at. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're staring at their ears, their shoulders, their hands. If you're just like standing there, and women, sound off in the comments. Eva, you're a regular commenter now. Please comment on this if you please. But if a man is just standing there staring at you like, you're saying, sir, hello? Sir? Sir? Can you just, hello? You're really creeping me out. I'm gonna go. So, it doesn't matter what part of a woman's body that you're staring at. Don't stare at them creepily like that, okay? They will notice, and hopefully you'll get in very big trouble. Just don't do it. Doesn't matter what part of the body. It can be a shoulder, it can be a wrist, it can be an anything. And it's just nasty, slimy behavior. Don't do it. So, with all that said, what intrigues me about your story is that the only thing that stands out as socially extreme and problematic isn't the yoga pants. It's you. Brian, you're the thing that stands out in this story as the social problem. You're the one that comes across in this story as, as being the problem. These women are just in the department store. They're not looking at you. They're not trying to get your attention. They're just there to buy some crap and go home. And you're the one standing behind them, trying to deal with being faced with typical North American clothing. And you're having a moral struggle in your heart and soul about what you see in front of you because they're just wearing normal stuff. Brian, they're not the problem. It sounds like you're the problem.
Now, take it even a step further. Imagine if I made a comment while staring, like, that's some prime posterior real estate you have there. And then I asked her, where do you work out? I can guarantee that most women in that situation would not respond well. Most women would treat that as a form of harassment from a stranger. And frankly, they'd be right. But now imagine if instead I was looking at a woman's hair and I complimented her on that and maybe asked her where she got her hair cut. I can see some maybe being a little apprehensive to engage in conversation, especially if they thought I was like hitting on them. But in general, I can't see them getting excessively offended by that. So what's the difference? Why is there a massive distinction between looking at and even complimenting a woman's hair or her nails, or maybe her sandals, and it not being offensive? But if you stare at and compliment her posterior when it's on full display, she's likely to take offense. And even if you think both are inappropriate, fine, but I think we can all admit that one is way worse than another.
No, Brian, I'm not sure that we can agree that one is worse than the other. Because you just described your approach to the woman's hair in a completely different way than you described your hypothetical approach to a woman's butt. You just described it in two completely different ways, so let's break down your approach to the butt and apply that same framework to the hair, and let's see how women feel about that. You describe your approach to the woman's butt as staring, obviously and creepily, and then making a targeted sexual remark about her body and requesting a part of her personal itinerary. Those are the three aspects, the three attributes of what you just said about the woman's butt. Staring creepily, making a targeted sexual remark, and asking for her itinerary. So if you're going to do that for hair, let's do it this way. Hey girl, your hair smells so good. I want to run my fingers through that hair all night. Where's your salon at? Wouldn't even have to be a smell thing. You could just say, I want to grab your hair and put you right where I want you. There are lots of sexual remarks you can make about a woman's hair, Brian. So if we take those three aspects, again, staring creepily at the woman's hair. Alarm bells are already going off. Targeted sexual remark about the hair. Alarm bells are going off and she's probably moving away from your locale. And then you request a part of her personal itinerary? That's maximum creep factor. So it doesn't matter what part of a woman's body you're talking about. If you do those three things, alarm bells are going off. So it's not because it's a butt or a breast or a belly or whatever. It's that you're expressing targeted sexual interest in an uninterested woman. That's what's at stake here. That's what's actually going on, regardless of what part of the body or not body we're talking about. If you stare creepily, make a targeted sexual remark, and request your itinerary, you're a creep. Something's wrong with you. So when I took those three attributes and I applied them to the hair, I know that I'm just a man. So I went to a good female friend of mine, a woman I know, and I asked her, hey, let's look at these two scenarios, and if I take these attributes and apply them to the hair, what do you think about those things? Is it about as bad as the butt thing if we apply the same attributes to the hair thing? And here's what she said. Your scenario is, and I paraphrase it a little bit because she says like and she stammers a bit. So even though this was part of a messaging thing where both our voices were recorded, which she consented to, okay, it's all part of the app. It's Marco Polo. So you message back and forth and everything's recorded. But, and I asked her if I could quote her in the video, and she said yes. So if she wants to sound off in the comments, hi, you can sound off in the comments. So I paraphrase it slightly just for flow, but all of the basic wording is still here. Here's what she said about my three attribute scenario. Your scenario is absolutely accurate. Boom. Okay, we could just stop there. We could just stop there. She said that what I have to say about the butt versus the hair attribute thing is accurate to a woman's experience. That means a lot to me. But if we read the rest, she also said, as a husband, how would you feel if someone said that about your wife or your daughter? You don't want some guy or even a boy her age saying that kind of thing about any part of her body. That's just never right. There are things that can be said, like I have highlights. It's one thing for someone to say, cool highlights. People tell me that all the time, men and women alike. That's fine. But the scenario you're talking about, yeah, that's very different. We have bodies, we have outer parts and inner parts. Some things are more on display than others, but we're human beings. And we've got to be really careful not to cut people up into parts and pieces because you're still talking about the whole person. You're still saying things about a whole person. There's a level of appropriateness to the way that we speak to each other. Like there are ways for me to tell a man that he looks strong without me making sexually charged remarks about his muscles. You know, and there's a physical proximity and what I will call, for lack of a better word right now, a vocal proximity. There are words that put me in a space with you as a person that are very close, and there are those that are more distant. And we should be using those close proximity words for people that we are more intimate with. Like, there are words and phrases that I would say to my husband from across the room that would not be appropriate for anybody else. So I think there's just some common sense in there that people want to deny, but it is common sense. So no, Brian, if the approach is the same in both scenarios, then the creepiness factor is about the same. Doesn't matter what part of the body you're targeting. If you stare creepily, make a targeted sexual remark, and request the woman's itinerary, that's always going to be creepy, even if you're talking about her fingernails, okay, or her toenails, or maybe especially feet. But it really doesn't matter that much what part of the body it is. It's always going to be creepy.
And the answer to that question, if it wasn't obvious to you, is because the anatomical parts that leggings and booty shorts reveal are private and shouldn't be commented on by strangers, because strangers, by definition, are not compatible with privacy. That's the only possible reason a woman could take offense if someone stared at or commented on her hindquarters. And if we can agree on this, that private things are not for strangers, then that raises a massive question. If it's private, why is it on full display in public where all the strangers are? If it's not for public consumption, then why is it being made so excessively available to strangers in public?
Brian, is your face for public consumption? What about your wife's face? Do men get to just walk up to your wife and put their fingers in her ears because they can see them? Or lick her nose, or any other number of things? Like, just because they can see her face, does that mean that they can touch it? Just because they can see her face, does that mean they get to make pointed sexual remarks about it? Request her personal itinerary? Stare creepily at her? I mean, her face is just out. Her face is completely exposed. You can see all the skin, all of the anatomy up there. So, according to your logic, doesn't that peg it as being for public consumption in that way? Do they get to remark about what they want to see that lip and what those lips and tongue can do? Do they get to make sexually charged remarks about what they want her hands to do because they see her getting her money out at the cashier? You see the problem? There is no part of the human body that is public access, Brian. Doesn't matter if it's your hands even, which are arguably the most public part of your body, even more so than your face. Because you and I can talk, right? You're not going to touch my face. That's not how regular interpersonal interaction goes, just with acquaintances. But what you will likely touch is my hands. We'll shake hands, we might high five, fist bump, all this cool stuff. Your hands are the most public part of your body. Even then, don't stare creepily at someone's hands. Don't just walk up and start touching people's hands. That's creepy. Don't request my itinerary because you saw my hands. Also super creepy. So if you took the standard that you're applying to butts and applied it to faces, hands, and even feet, the standard doesn't work. It seems like you're committing the fallacy of special pleading. This standard really ought to apply to every single piece of human anatomy, even your hands. Yet you're not applying it to those things. So it seems like you're pleading for a special exception for the body parts that you want to cover that suddenly doesn't apply when we talk about literally any other part of the body. So it seems like special pleading to me. If we did take your standard for butts and apply it to every part of the body, you'd be required to go around everywhere in spacesuits. Or better yet, just never appear in public at all in order to solve the problem you're trying to solve with the solution you've proposed. Because the creepy sexual approach we've been discussing with the 3 attributes, that's going to be creepy regardless of what part of the body that you're talking about. And always wrong, and always inappropriate. That's always the creep's fault, not the woman's fault.
It would be like me saying, this is my watch. I really like my watch. I care about it. It's for me and my use only. Nobody else is allowed to use it or take it. It's just for me alone.
Did you see what I just saw? Let's look at it again.
This is my watch.
Brian, did you just show us your watch? Your watch is only for you. It's only for your use, only your consumption. And yet you're flashing us with it. If it's only for your use and consumption and no one else's, why are you just waving it around in public? You're literally waving it around on camera. You're showing it to the world, but it's only for your use. Okay, that seems to run completely contrary to your logic here. Doesn't your example of the watch disprove everything that you've just been? You're not covering up the watch, you're not concealing the watch. You're allowing your watch to be seen, but expressing boundaries about its use, because that's how human life works.
But then I go and leave it somewhere lying around in public.
Oh yeah, because that's what those women did. They cut their butts off and slapped them on a table with a note that said, "Please no looking or touching." That's what they did.
How can I possibly fault someone if they just walked away with it as if it was theirs? It's my fault for leaving it exposed in public. I didn't want strangers or people I don't trust to claim it for their own, therefore I shouldn't expose it for their taking in public.
Brian, again, you literally just showed us your watch. If your standard is it's not for someone else's use, then wear a watch cover, wear a longer sleeve, wear a parka or something, or better yet, just leave your watch at home. Oh, and while you're at it, throw a car cover over your car even while you drive it, because it's not for anyone else's use or consumption, right? So that means you have to conceal it. That means no one's allowed to see it because no one else is allowed to use it. So go ahead and throw a car cover on there. No one's allowed to just waltz into your house. The house is only for your use. So you better camouflage it with something so no one knows it's a house. Cover it up, cover it up. No one can see it. It's only for your use, only for your consumption. So make sure no one can see the house.
But I cannot see. I'm legally blind.
You got to cover that house up, right? Right. No? No? No?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
If you think it's wrong for strangers to stare at your posterior, and from what I can tell, that is the case with most women, then there's an amazingly simple solution. Don't make it available for their visual consumption.
Good news, ladies. Brian has a solution. If you don't want men staring creepily at your hands, just wear ski gloves. Men staring at your mouth and or tongue, just wear a ninja mask. Feet, wear heavy boots, even in the summer. Staring at your neck, just wear a turtleneck or a scarf or something. Staring at your hair, wear a burqa. It's not that hot. The problem with this, Brian, is when men make comments anyway. Do you really think that men weren't making sexually charged remarks at women wearing skirts 200 years ago? Do you really think that because women were wearing ankle-length dresses that men didn't follow them around going, that's not how men work. That's not how life works. Men are always going to make sexually charged remarks about women. There's always going to be that ugly underbelly of society of absolute pieces of human garbage who have nothing better to do than make weird, creepy comments about women's bodies. We're always going to be dealing with that. It's a sinful, fallen world. The dresses are not making it better. Okay? Quick food for thought here. Modest clothing comes with culture. In a culture that practices modesty of the type that you're describing, Brian, are men allowed to make sexually charged remarks about women's bodies? No, that's in fact punished. That's a punishable behavior, socially if nothing else. So I think it's important to distinguish that and understand that the modest clothing isn't the only aspect of what's going on when you're talking about modesty. It doesn't just come with clothes, but you also still have this whole drunken underbelly of society, but just wear longer dresses, ladies, and you'll be fine. No, it's a lot more complicated than just wear longer skirts. Like, for example, let's say a woman was wearing exactly the kinds of clothes you would like her to wear in the store, and some man walks up behind her and compliments her butt anyway. Because let's face it, unless she's wearing a garbage can, you can what what does she do then if a man goes on and makes a comment about her body anyway? Should she wear the garbage can? Should she just stay at home and never go out in public again? Or could it be that maybe something's wrong with the man and it's not her fault? And if she's wearing something normal for society, it's really not her fault. And I would argue, even if she's wearing something provocative, it's still only the man's fault for what he's feeling and thinking. It's really not her fault. Now, is it inconsiderate? Maybe, yeah. But is it her fault that this man is sinning in this way, lusting in this way? No, not really her fault. He has to make his own choice.
Because there's a principle here that we should all have some familiarity with to some degree, like at least intuitively, which is that intimacy is the exclusive occasion in which privacy can be shared. Just think about this for a second. You have some relationships that are more intimate than others, and that makes them special in an exclusive way. For example, my wife knows things about me that nobody else knows, and I've reserved those things for her knowledge because she, more than anyone else, has earned that exclusivity. It also makes that relationship special. If I shared intimate details, including my body, with anyone and everyone, then how could I say that I have a more intimate relationship with my wife than anyone else? I couldn't, obviously. Reserving certain knowledge and certain actions for exclusive intimate relationships is what makes them intimate and special. The same is true of our bodies. If we give away the private knowledge of our bodies to everyone and anyone, then it isn't very special when we try to give it away to someone intimately.
Brian, does your wife get to see more of your face than we do? Because I think I'm looking at your whole face right now. Do you present your whole head and face to the public when you go to the grocery store? I bet you do. Well, let me guess. None of the people at the store are allowed to stroke your face and kiss your lips just because they can see them. Those are things reserved just for your wife, no? But you don't consider people being able to see your face as a violation of your marital intimacy with your wife? That sounds familiar. We naturists see people's bodies all the time, but just like how you would feel about a face, we see the body. That's not for us. That's not for us to touch or anything. Yes, we nudists can see someone's entire body. That doesn't mean we get to touch it, or remark on it, or stare at it. We're not even interested in any of that. That's just what that person looks like. Hunky-dory, whoop-de-doo. Oh, fine, great, whatever. The fact that you can see someone's body doesn't give you access to it, just like you don't get to French kiss people you go to mass with just because you can see their mouths at church. Or even to make remarks of that kind when you're at church. That's just not how life works. Just because you can see something doesn't mean you get to remark on it, stare at it, request people's itineraries related to that body part. None of that. That's always going to be creepy behavior, and it's not an appropriate response by that person, by the viewer, to go that direction with interacting with the person that you just saw. That's not how life works. So if it doesn't apply to the face, I fail to see how the logic applies to any other part of the body. That just because the physical interaction of that body part is reserved for intimacy, that therefore it should be concealed. That applies to the face too. I don't see how the logic lines up there. The fact that your wife has sole, intimate, tactile access to your head and face with all the things that go along with it doesn't mean that doesn't mean that you have to conceal your face from everybody else. The same thing applies to the rest of the body. With your face, it's not that you have to hide your face because you use it to be intimate with your wife. The point is that you have boundaries about what people are allowed to stare at, comment on, and touch when they're interacting with you. People don't just get free access to your face. You have a right to not have people just remark on you and touch you like that. It goes for the face and the rest of the body. People can see things, but you should still have boundaries, and you can still have boundaries with every other part of the body that's usually accessible visually in public. You still have boundaries about who gets to touch it and make remarks about it. That's normal. The rest can be done with the rest of the body, as I know from experience. Does uncovering your mouth at the grocery store make your wife's use of your mouth less intimate and special? I would argue no. No, that's not a violation of your intimacy with your wife to have your mouth visible in public. That's not what's going on there. Your wife does have exclusive, intimate access to your mouth in a way that nobody else on the planet does or should. I don't think you're diminishing that intimacy by talking to people in public. Or is your wife's tactile access to your face so powerful, so intimate, so precious and powerful that the visual access that everyone else gets to your face doesn't hold a candle to the relationship that you and your wife share with your faces?
That's an interesting way of putting. That makes sense.
So, visibility and intimacy are not inversely related, not even a little bit. Your face proves that, and so does your watch.
The same can be said for something that is valuable because it's rare. If everyone had a giant gold nugget, then gold wouldn't be valuable. It's valuable because it's rare.
Yeah, just like tactile access to your face is rare and therefore valuable. In fact, the distinction there justifies visual access to your face because that tactile access is still not available. I'm a naturist. Thousands, maybe millions of people have seen my entire body. Only one woman gets tactile access to my body in an intimate way. That's my wife. That's been true our entire marriage. It still holds true now.
Intimacy depends on exclusivity, but if you violate exclusivity by giving intimacy away in public, then you've made it impossible for you to have true intimacy to give away.
So I guess it's impossible then for your wife to have a truly intimate relationship with your face. I'm just saying.
So it logically, rationally, and intellectually follows that we should keep intimate things private by concealing them, just as we do for everything else in our lives that are private.
You mean like your ears, your mouth, your watch? Remember, you did just say your watch was only for you and then waved it around at everybody. Just as we do with everything else in our lives that's private. The problem with that, Brian, is that we don't do that in other areas of our lives. My wife's mouth is mine and mine alone, despite the fact that its intimate use is reserved only for me. We don't keep intimate things private by concealing them. It's the interaction between those things where privacy becomes an issue. For example, Brian, in this very video, I have seen your nose, your lips, your mouth, your teeth, and your ears. Okay? All of those things are very sensitive areas that have clear application in intimacy. But I can see all of them, you're comfortable showing them to us. Because the fact that these things have intimate applications is not the same thing as the intimate actions themselves. We don't hide the things. We hide the activities. So your mouth, let's just center in on your mouth for a second. Being able to see Brian's mouth is a completely different matter from seeing the things that Brian's mouth does to his wife's mouth. Those activities are kept private, and they should be. Those activities should be kept private. However, Brian's mouth is right here for everyone to see. It's not the thing that we hide because it has an intimate application. It is the intimacy itself, the intimate activities themselves that are kept private. But the things used in that intimacy don't necessarily need to be kept hidden, i.e., your mouth, tongue, your fingers, your ears, everything. Like, there are lots of parts of you, Brian, that we have seen in this video that have really intimate application that you're comfortable just waving around for the world because, hi bug, because that's just how human life works. So we don't actually do this as broadly as you seem to say here. Wow, I have an hour and a half of footage for this video. So I'm halfway done editing the video now. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna cut it off and next week come back for part 2 of my response to Brian Holdsworth. And this is just me responding to snippets of Brian's video. This is what response videos look like. So yeah, this has been part 1. Please come back for part 2.